Welcome, everybody, to the Fall Line with Chaos and Company. We have finally done it. I'm not going to say how many years in the making, but we have Bart and George Flynn here, and we are super excited to talk skiing tonight. Angelo is super excited. He's been tellying all winter. He's almost forgot how to alpine ski. He's been on his telly so much, but we're definitely excited and super happy that Blizzard Technica is still helping us out, keeping us rolling here on the podcast. And Nick's boot fitting, you want to get over to Nick's if you haven't get your boots done. And I know there's definitely next year's boots already in his shop, and you can check those out. But we should talk skis, Angelo, because there's some new skis. And I want to know if these guys have a new favorite ski or if there's another one in the quiver still, or what it depends on. But we've got to ask these guys, what is in the quiver? What is the favorite ski? And is it the new ones?
Go for it, Bart. In a typical season in Jackson Hole, we'd be skiing a little fatter than the new race type LT. But I do have one of those in the quiver now. And this season in Jackson has been, I swear, the East Coast and West Coast like flip-flopped. And we've been skiing that ski a lot, skiing the slalom ski a lot, skiing the Anomaly 84 a lot. Like the narrow stuff has been dominating the scene out here.
That's cool.
Do you put the 84 in the narrow category?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
You do? Okay. Like full on or borderline?
I think both of us have skied on just like a general on-piste, off-piste day. I think skied the 84 more than any ski this year. And I don't know that it's any different than the blue and black one, but the new black and white one, we've just both really enjoyed. Mm-hmm. It's just so versatile. And I think, honestly, having loved the Brahma for so long at an 88, I think the 84 is just like a little easier on my knees and kind of just as versatile. So I'm almost leaning that direction these days.
Mm-hmm. So when you get on the real wide one, a little better in the not the canvas now, but do you guys get on the 102 or do you get on the 94?
The 94 today. It was 6 inches reported, but really it was like 12. And the 94 is just like a silky ski I feel like it's powerful, it's smooth, it's like has enough float, but doesn't suck when it gets firm. That's the go-to when it's snowed. The 102 is fun too. Yeah. Got to be going fast for me to ski that ski though.
Well, I know you guys go fast. It's because you had to be going pretty fast. And George, I think your edge angle was like at 85 degrees for that 185 on the carve score that's on the leaderboard. And I haven't seen Bart, what, at 183? How do you get you by 2 points? What's going on with that?
That was a fun little flip-flop, actually, because I had a 182, which was great. And then he came and beat me, and he was snide about it and was like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was good. It's like, show me the score, damn it. and then went out on the next day and had good, consistent snow. I think that's it. Like, you can be really consistent with your discipline and your body performance. And if you hit a weird seam, game over. When we were talking, I think, about scores like that. So had a good swath of snow to lay down 8 in a row. So yeah, that's been a fun game.
You don't think it was like a solar flare or something that interfered with his results?
Can't confirm or deny anything, really.
It's funny you asked about this, because if you take the 8 turns and add up the scores and average them, my 183 had 8 turns that were higher than his 8 turns. So we got to talk to Carve and see what exactly is going on.
Yeah. We got to mess with that algorithm.
What's going on? Bribery.
Oh, man, I can see it coming. This is going to be a big debate. I love it.
That didn't take long. It didn't take as long as I thought it would take.
And I didn't look. What were you guys on when you did those numbers for ski? Slalom ski? Yeah.
Yep. This slalom.
Yeah. Are you still finding higher scores with your slalom skis than
Yes. I think if the snow is strong enough to keep that ski bent, yes. If it's not, no. Then the anomaly can be bent by a little bit softer snow, but there is a trail that gets a really good kind of early evening groom and sets up, and as long as that is smooth, the slalom ski is pretty great for that.
That's why I want to try that MT. I feel like the MT, if it's got some power, could have a little bit, like, just engage a little bit quicker than the LT. And
yeah. Now, will you get that in a 173 or 179, Bart?
I think the 173.
Yeah. That's what I have.
Yeah. I had the HRC in a longer one, and it wasn't quite the one for me. I think in a shorter length, it balances out a little bit better with the radius and everything.
Yeah, they're pretty cool that they did too. Because I mean, folks are probably wondering, what are we talking about? We got Blizzard just has out their new race type Firebird race type MT, which is a ski I have in the back here, and that's a medium turn they call it. So the 173, it's like a 15 meter, and then you guys are on the LT, which I think is 179, and it's like 19.
Yeah,
19 meters, so more of a GS type ski, but they both rip. I'm hoping to get on the LT like you guys are on at the demo we have in a few weeks, but the MT's been ripping it up, and it holds and grips like unbelievable. So
yeah,
we'll see if you can cross over that 190 or 200. That's it. We're just gonna have to call Sarah up and just say, hey, they need to get the ski because we want to see how high we can get the score, because they think they can get it on the MT.
Right? You need all the options. You have to have all the options so that you can maximize.
Oh man. Well, we should ask them about boots, Angelo.
Yeah, talk about how you guys get set up. Like, what do you like in a boot? What do you like with your stance?
That's an awesome question. Just to give you a little background, we both went through our entire racing career with zero boot work. We did not know boot work was a thing. We did not use footbeds. And so when we kind of got to the point where we knew all of these things existed, we actually have always done our own work as far as like fitting. So comfort wise, making a plug boot fit a bony little foot. We do all our own grinding, and I think that's been a fun kind of background for us to figure out how to do it, how to use the tools. We've made a bunch of tools. And it's kind of let us nerd out on some of the factors that I think allow us to get the stance that we want. We kind of switch between a 130 plug and a 150 plug, depending on the temperature. Colder temps here in Jackson, the 130 is plenty. And the 150 is kind of harsh when it's cold, but when it's warm, the power of the 150 is pretty sweet, and the plastic is quite damp and powerful. So, and it was an interesting experiment. We were in an old Doberman mold for almost 20 years, since we were J4s. And that boot had quite a lot of forward lean, and a quite ramped boot board. And we both got quite used to having a good amount of forward lean and a boot board that's not super flat. And so getting on the new technical boot, which is more upright and has a flatter boot board, it definitely took a second to figure that out and get back to a functional stance that feel like we can receive forces through the whole foot, especially the heel. So we're both running a 3 millimeter heel lift on the boot board to like get that quick contact to the foot. Mm-hmm. And both have pretty long femurs for our height. And so a lot of forward lean allows us to have some flex in our leg, some bend in the leg at the knee, and not be super far aft. And so we both run a pretty aggressive spoiler, although we have skinny little legs. So that's kind of been the formula. I think canting wise, we've both been a believer of that. It changes the feel. Canting changes the feel that you get on the ski. It's not something that I believe is going to completely make or break your ability to make the ski do something, but it sure as hell changes how it feels. We're both pretty lucky that straight legs, and if anything, we run our like zero canting, zero cuff alignment, puts us just a little bit inside edge heavy, maybe just a little bit. And so good outside ski engagement, really active. You start to tip the boot and the outside ski reacts and responds really well. And we've kind of been able to run that setup for a long time and haven't really messed with it past that, at least past getting the new Firebird boot to the forward lean number that we want.
Mm-hmm. About how old were you when you figured out that boot fitting was a thing?
What about 24 years old, maybe? It's great.
You went full on.
Highly recommend.
Yeah. And one more, highly recommend. One more question about, you mentioned the heel. It's so taboo in a lot of conversations. Would you just talk about how you engage the heel in skiing, please?
Yeah, I can. When we were first in that boot, I know both of us were like talking through it, and both of us were having a sensation where when the ski loads up, we both like to kind of, I think of it as like kind of settling to the heel, like feeling power through the like back half of the foot. And with that particular boot, with the spoiler kind of getting the tib fib coming out of the cuff at the right angle, I would like my calf was like flaming out because I was trying to like lift my heel off to get kind of my ankle in the position that I wanted to be in the boot. So in order to be able to kind of settle or receive force through the back half of the foot, it just took up a little bit of space, and all of a sudden it felt like a really solid platform. But it's remarkable to me, I sit in the locker room in my locker row and could have like 3 or 4 people with completely different boot setups. Someone's got a 6 millimeter gas pedal under the toe to make the cuff more upright. Someone's got, dropping their heel as much as they can. And it's made us start, we talk about it a lot, and it's difficult because there's not a really clear, like, I don't want people to listen to this and say, oh, I'm going to shove a big spoiler in and stick a heel lift in and see if it works. But I think going through figuring out the fore aft stance in your boot can be a kind of a make or break. Like, either you can resist and stand against force, or you really can't. And so going through figuring out where the cuff angle needs to be for your lower leg to come out and feel like an athletic stance. And then once you have that, matching the boot board angle to wherever you want your foot to be in order to match that cuff angle. And I think if you can kind of separate them out that way, of get the lower leg coming out of the boot where you want it, where you can, like George said, you can have some flex, some bend in the leg and not feel like you're super far forward or super far back. Mm-hmm. And once you have that, play around with taking up space or dropping the boot board to figure out where you feel most solid on your foot, given that cuff angle. I think once you do that, then that checks the fore aft box.
Yes. Well, and to add, Angelo, to your question about the heel, when we specifically add that material, it's so that we can receive force not through the front of our foot necessarily, but really through the whole foot, which does include the heel. And I think like heel is aft on the foot and is associated with, quote unquote, being in the back seat. But, really what we're trying to achieve is, of which the heel is included in this, is a stance that's over our feet, teed up to the center of our boot pretty much, so that you can receive as much force as you need. Mm-hmm. And I think if you're in a boot that when you receive force and you're not feeling your whole foot, be aware of what part of the foot you're feeling it and what part you may not be. And I'd say potentially experiment with adding some material so that you feel the whole foot. And I think more than anything, it's the awareness of what you're feeling. To Bart's point, you can have a bunch of different setups that achieve the right sensation for the individual. And the most important thing is for our profession and our professionals to understand what the things they're feeling for, which is a super solid platform for your foot to sit on and receive force. And, with the forward lean, something that feels athletic, that you can absorb and do, bend your knee and flex your knee and hips and not feel like it's throwing you off that central fore-aft position, which is so important. And that we, quite frankly, try to stay there as much as we can.
Yeah. So have you guys played a little bit with the canting? You said that's more for feel for you. Like, are you both on the same or you have a little different?
Just zero, straight.
Straight
and flat.
I did an experiment a couple years ago where I had someone basically, I challenged them to like make it so I couldn't ski with just like tape under the binding, under the boot, between the binding and the boot. And I was genuinely curious whether you could go so far to like make it unskiable. And we went super heavy on the inside edge. We went super heavy on the outside edge, like equivalent to like 3 degrees out or 3 degrees in. And I found that like you could compensate with leg to like get the ski to do the thing you wanted it to do. So when it was super outside edge heavy and super vague on the outside ski, you just like cock your knee in, like kind of A-frame, and like you could still make the ski hook up. Mm-hmm. And then on the other hand, you just kind of had to be a little bit more subtle with it. If you were super inside edge heavy, the outside ski would just like hook up immediately. You just had to kind of feather it a little bit. And yeah, I think it may be just blind ignorance or luck or genetics or something, but it seems like 0-0 just kind of works. But it's interesting. Like I hear a lot of talk in a clinic or in training sessions about lateral boot alignment, canting, cuff alignment, putting a shim in here and there. And I don't hear a lot about the fore-aft plane in the boot, ramp angle, cuff angle, putting a spoiler in, or doing a gas pedal or something like that. And I see, like George was mentioning, the lateral stuff is more of a feel. Like I like the feel of the outside ski hooking up more or being a little bit softer. But the fore-aft stuff is all about, are you capable of receiving force? Or does it feel like an athletic position? It's more about a position the boot helps you establish.
Cool. And we need to know, this is like the favorite question for a ton of our listeners that we started early on. It's like, and we'll start with Bart. Like, can you remember your first experience? Were you ahead of George or behind George, or you don't remember? Like, was it with family or?
Yeah, we were a ski family. My mom was in the industry and we lived pretty close to the ski hill. We were on a tiny little, that's Suicide 6, now Saskadina 6. And I kind of think I remember these like woods trails at the hill that were off the side of the trails. And I have this recollection of them feeling like little tunnels. Like if you knew where the entrance is, you could just like fire into it like a little rodent. And then then you'd rip the little wood trail and then like pop out back onto the main trail. We're probably like 5 or 6 years old, maybe. I just recall like knowing exactly where the entrance was. Like I was like a squirrel, like heading to my den, and you could just like blast in there and do the couple quick turns and pop back out. You remember that? He
didn't say that you were. He didn't say you were in front of him, George. So
I was going to say,
he's behind him.
Yeah. We skied. I think we skied before our second birthday.
Yeah,
which is in March. So we skied probably in like January, February before our second birthday. And there's a picture of us in a sled on the way over, and I'm definitely in front of you at that point. But honestly, I think one of my first. So my mom would be teaching. And Bart and I would go and ski with my dad. I think one of my most kind of memorable things was we had a double chair. And so my dad would take one of us, and then one of us had to ride with a rando. And I remember just like, oh man, it's my turn to like ride up with some random person, or it's like your turn, you know? And I remember just having like, you know, your stock 7.5 minute discussion, even at like 5 years old. I remember talking to people on the lift and then like getting off and being like, bye. And then going skiing more. But
I remember when we could get on together and the two of us together could pull the bar down,
but not by ourselves.
That was like life.
Yeah.
Not
we could do it. It was teamwork.
Yeah.
Heavy bar.
Yeah. And how much has that pushed you guys? I mean, it has to push each of you pushing each other in such a positive way to all the different things through skiing and athletics has been probably pretty big. Still is, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think it can be overstated.
Yeah. How valuable.
It's constant.
And not even. Yeah.
I think one of the biggest values there is like you have, I think that maybe the single most valuable part of this, like the back and forth, is like you always have someone to bounce ideas off.
Yeah, you're going to say one. I was just going to, I know what you're going to say, so you might as well just say it.
What? Yeah, it's like the constant feedback. You know, the competitive part is one thing, but as far as like professional growth and how we've developed as skiers and ski instructors and our technical understanding, it's really handy to have someone that you can trust to bounce an idea off. And if it's totally wrong or weird, they'll say, he'll tell me it's weird. It's like, nah, that's not it. I don't think that's it. We were just driving back from Vail from team training.
Oh my God. Oh yeah.
And it was late. Like it was like midnight. I swear we talked for like 6 hours arguing about skiing.
But agreeing, but like discussing the nuance of a particular word. And like with someone else, you'd be like, oh my God, like I can't tell you to shut up. Or like, I can't tell you like, shut up, you're wrong. But we can. And we know it's not a disrespect. You're not worried about what someone might think. And so like having that sounding board and constant evaluator and constant accountability is massive. You know?
That's so cool.
What if you're both wrong?
Yeah, then we're just going down a rabbit hole.
Yeah. Conspiracy.
Oh man, that's unreal.
I mean, I can't say it's not impossible.
Yeah. Then it will just be those weird guys that are out in left field hanging out with each other, and it'll say,
Talk about like everybody knows you ski. Many of our listeners know you bike. What else? What other sports informed the skiing and the biking? Or not even necessarily sports, just physical activity.
I mean, we grew up in relatively rural Vermont. Really, we're very much outdoor children. Mm-hmm. Spent a lot of time at our grandfather's farm in Pomfret, like just fixing things and being creative and problem solving, especially with him. And so I think that's where we get a little bit of our like technical nerdiness and like willingness to solve problems and be creative and kind of find solutions. And we'd go sailing and figure out how to rig our boat and like things like that. Obviously the kind of athletic side of it, we played a lot of sports, soccer and tennis and in addition to ski racing and, we're always super active, but also just, going hiking up the hill in the back of the house and going sledding like whenever possible. Didn't really play video games or watch TV very much. It was kind of unknown and then a little bit taboo in our household, which was in retrospect a fantastic way to be raised.
Sure. Yeah. And then the racing in particular, maybe Bart, maybe you can jump on this one. Like how does the racing background inform your skiing now?
I think there's a technical side of that, and then there's a mental side of that. I think the mental side of it, and I think any kind of individual sport where you can't blame someone else for your performance is something that, like in ski racing, or we played tennis, or, you're there and you're responsible for your own performance, and you have to accept failures personally. You have to learn to see success when you do your best and that type of thing. So going through a tryout scenario or things like that, I think the mental side of being a ski racer is a valuable thing. And then from a technical side of things, I remember I've had several conversations over the years about how and why ski racers typically make, or at least have potential to make, really skilled ski instructors. And I think part of the technical value of being a ski racer is that we have a really deep understanding of a very specific turn. And so it can so in that case, it's kind of a carved race turns, all we did training. And it gives you a baseline turn to reference. It's almost like a context to reference when you're talking about skiing. So it's like, a turn could be like a carved turn, but with a little bit more displacement. And it becomes a common language that ski racers can fire back and forth about a carved turn, and it's a very clear reference point. So I've found that very grounding, that I can always go back to. I know a carved turn well. It's a foundation that I can base my understanding off of, that has a specific outcome. And I've always found that super, super valuable. And if you compare that to, say, a skier who's come up just recreationally, who doesn't have that kind of concrete foundational turn to reference or base an understanding off of, you can kind of see how understandings can go off in different directions and not be super grounded. And so I think as in our organization, there's probably space to give membership, our profession, that foundational turn to base things off of, that baseline turn that is, we can all have common understanding around and then branch off from, just like the ski racer uses the carved turn to do that.
Cool. And you guys, to do that carved turn, I know you guys do a lot of biking. I think mostly on the mountain bike. I don't know if you guys road bike a little bit, but I know you're on the mountain bikes a lot. We see the pictures on Facebook and some races in the shop. But is there is there gym time? Is there weights? Is there flexibility to ski at that level? I mean, what are each of you doing off snow and off the bike? George?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we to be, perfectly honest, we don't go to the gym. We ride about 3,000 to 4,000 miles a year, road bike and mountain bike. I think we both have struggled with flexibility in the past and have tried to add some stretching and some just kind of biometrics and just quick, easy exercises to increase hip flexibility, because cycling generally will make your hips pretty tight.
Yeah.
But we've both found, for us, if you ride your bike a lot, your legs are damn strong and you're pretty lightweight. And I think that, having a really effective power to weight has kept us, knock on wood, kept us healthy, and kept our knees healthy enough without the impact of other stuff or the strain of heavy weightlifting. It's all, it's pretty light duty weight. I know that, if I was going to go and try to be a ski racer, there'd be time in the gym, to finish a 1:20 GS. But, we both have kind of been on that ride your bike a lot and that seems to do the trick for both of us. And then obviously adding in some stretching to loosen up the hips a little bit. But that's been the program. I've yet to see someone that rides that much be not fit and not strong. I dare you to test it.
and those 3,000 or 4,000 miles, there must be quite a bit of uphill, right, Bart? Not all flat.
You know, if you look at like cycling training, current day cycling training, our valley in Jackson's pretty flat, and a lot of our riding is fairly low output. Call it like zone 2, zone 2 level. So I don't think it has to hurt to go have effective training on the bike for ski season, especially if kind of a strength to weight ratio and just cardiovascular fitness is the target. You know, on the mountain bike, there's no flat stuff in Jackson, so we're climbing a bunch. But more and more, like I've got a little baby at home, and if I have an hour, I'll jump on the road bike and go for a nice road ride. And like I said, in the valley, it's pretty flat. So regardless, I think of the terrain you have, it's still like George said, I dare you. Anyone listening, dare you to go do that and see how you feel that next season. Yeah.
Angelo, we don't have to go to the gym.
Well, I wasn't feeling pressured to go anyway.
What has worked from age 25 to 35? I think we both know that there's going to have to be some other stuff in the mix from 35 to 45 and 45 to 55 and on that involves a lot more flexibility and stretching. And so that's on the to-do list in the next several years to figure out a program that promotes more flexibility. And because those high G, high force turns require a lot of flexibility. And I see skiers all the time that understand how to do it, but just don't have the mobility and power to do it. So,
yeah, because thinking about those numbers when you guys did the 185, 183, looking at those numbers, it was like, what was it, 3.6 or 3.8 Gs on each one? That I guarantee your your inside knee had to be up near your chest.
Yeah, totally.
You know, you were inside, and without that hip mobility and ability to have that leg come up that much, where some people can't get their femur past, vertical to the snow, never mind having it. I guarantee it was up in the air. The knee was above your hip to get those kind of numbers to even get to the place to resist that force.
Yeah, totally. And that's, it's the constant reminder that it's a sport.
Yeah.
It is a sport, and at the highest level of any version of skiing or any genre of skiing, whether it's bumps or freestyle or racing or even, the high end of our little corner of the sport, the athleticism and the flexibility is an asset. It's not, you can do a lot of it without it, but it's an asset. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
You guys are putting down some big roots in Jackson, with your lives and families and the shop, now owners of the shop, right? So, looks like you're going to be there for a while, but, tell us a little bit about how you're working that, how things are with the roots there, and how just the whole life came together to ski, bike, and be on the national team.
I feel like as always, we came for a winter and stayed.
Yeah.
I think we had read that question and we're thinking about it. I think the takeaways I have from doing that, kind of becoming a ski instructor and then working in the bike industry and then having the opportunity to partner and start a shop and then buying that shop out and having it just for ourselves, is the people It's not necessarily what, but it's who you met along the way. For me, at least, whether it's, a person that you skied with that offered help, if you ever have an idea or a project, something like that, that stuff gets thrown around on a chairlift. And I think we would both be lying if we didn't say that both of those worlds for us are very tied. The ski instructor world and the culture and the reputation that we've been able to build in the ski industry in Jackson helps us a ton in the bike world and in just the summer culture of being here, and vice versa. People that we meet in the summer, all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, you want to go out and ski a day?" So it's been a gradual ride, and neither of us, I don't think, intended specifically on landing on owning a bike shop and skiing in the winter, but it's ended up that way because of the connections we've both been able to make, being in the community, being around, and just really trying to do a great job at whatever is on the docket.
Cool.
If that answers your question.
Yeah. Well, it's just, I was curious because, you went out there, and I know Angelo's going to ask you about how it started out there, how you get out there to begin with, but it kind of tied in. You had the bike thing and everything's going. I was just, what's the advice for some young folks that might be here? In the East, it's a pretty short season. It's a little longer out there. Seems like bigger hills, different clientele. It's just, I think hearing the story and how you guys have made that work out there is pretty cool. Because you didn't start as ski instructors out west, right? What did you start as out there?
Bart, you can answer that. I just laughed.
Yeah, you broke up there for a sec. So can you say that again?
Oh, I was just, when you guys started out there, you didn't start teaching skiing at Jackson, did you? What'd you do first at the hill?
Well, it was pretty funny. We showed up in October. And we didn't have a job, and Jackson Hole was having like a job fair. So we went over, and we had been lift attendants at the home hill in Vermont. So we were like, wow, let's apply to be lifties. So we interviewed for that. They were like, yeah, we'll give you the job. And we told them we got this ski instructor tryout, next couple days. Like, can we let you know like later if we get the job? And they're like, nope, got to tell us now. So we turned down the lifty job, and we're like asking the assistant director, Lexi at Jackson, hey, you give us like a hint of whether like it's likely that we'll get a job here or not. She's like, nope, got to go to the tryout. Suck it up. So we went through the tryout for Jackson Hole, like ski instructor, ended up getting the job. So that was the first job here.
Okay.
Teaching skiing. That was our first time teaching skiing.
Wow.
It was in Jackson Hole in 2012.
Yeah.
But we were, and this may be the rumor, we were pretty close to being lifties.
Yeah.
Like it was kind of one or the other. And quite frankly, in 2012, there were 100 plus people trying out, and they only took 25. It wasn't checking a heartbeat and here's your job. And so we were pretty confident that we were doing a good job in the tryout, but again, we had nothing to base that on. And we had just turned down, and the lifties were kind of mad because we were like probably pretty good prospects for them prior experience. And they were like, oh, these guys would be great. And then they were like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. So yeah, but we did end up making it. We were, I think we were number 2 and 3 that year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Angelo, should we ask who was number 2? Or should we ask who was number 1? Who could actually be number 1?
Yeah. Who was number 1?
It was Joanna Murphy, who still lives here. She doesn't teach anymore. Yeah. She did great. I'm sure she did great. She's an awesome person.
Oh, God, I love it. So almost loaded chairs, but didn't.
Almost.
Yeah, that's truth. That's the truth. We spent our time loading chairs.
I do
always say thank you to the lift.
Yeah.
Does matter.
Correct.
Correct.
Talk for a minute, Bart. Why don't you start? Your role on the team. How would you describe what your role on the team is now, and how is that different from your first term?
Great question.
Dave wrote it. And he, blind squirrel, even a blind squirrel. Finds a nut.
Yeah. Good nut.
Right.
Nice nut.
Right. Yeah.
The role's definitely changed.
Mhm.
You know, the first term we were rookies with hot feet. We were learning the job. We were learning the locations and the events and the people. Both of us came into this team having not networked a ton. We were kind of nobodies. I don't think I'd ever met Matt Boyd, Jeb Boyd, Michael Rogan. I hadn't met you guys. Like, nobody knew who we are. So there was a period of time where both of us were kind of getting our name out there and figuring out the job and weren't used as much as a resource for the team. That we were relying on other leaders on the team. You had a Baloo on there, Josh, Steven, and that had some time on the team and a lot more experience. This term, I feel like we've been leaned on a little bit more to lead, especially in kind of the technical side of things, those technical discussions. The skiing part hasn't really changed, but like coaching staff and the team has opened up a little bit to some of the wacky Flynn ideas and shown that there's some value in the way that George and I think about skiing. And part of that is that it's a fairly organic version of skiing. We didn't develop our thoughts on skiing as ski instructors. We developed it as skiers, kind of independent from PSIA, and have since kind of assimilated those two together. So the more organic, unique understanding of skiing and beliefs about skiing have started to kind of infiltrate the team, and we've had the opportunity to share some of those thoughts and get the ball rolling in a direction that I think is more positive. So,
yeah. George, will you talk for a minute about the CERT pathway you guys took? And was it the same? Did you do everything at the same time? Was Bart in front of you in CERT as well as the the squirrel tree tunnel?
I'm trying to think. I would be lying if I said that we didn't take a direct path. We were guided to do our level 1 our first year. Went over to Grand Targhee, got that dust and done, and then proceeded to do a 2 the next year and a 3 the next year. And I think I had listened to your guys. I think it was like the professionalism podcast that you guys, just the two of you, did. It was talking about the number of hours that you had to teach experts to like really be an expert at going to a level 3 and being comfortable doing that. And we were given the opportunity to coach at a high level really early on. And I think I would credit that to at least one part of the success that we had through doing the level 3 so naturally and easily. We were coaching a master's race weekly clinic with some really experienced instructors who famously said, "Do what they do and do what I say until they can say what they do." And yeah, NATO Emerson call out. But yeah, we had some really great mentors early on in environments where we were pushed to develop our understanding and evolve our understanding in a pretty professional way, and being expected to describe things to adults before we had our level 3. And then, so the level 3 process, the skiing came pretty easily, but the back end of the MA and the teaching and kind of the methodology, I think I credit a lot to those guys that we were teaching, our pupils who questioned us and challenged us, and the mentors that we were able to teach with along the way. And then, yeah, we we were selected as examiners that next year. So it would have been 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we were just in an environment where we had several people that were in our corner that we could talk to, that were pushing us to do that. And we did. And then kind of hung out. And that was the year that Ann made the team. It was 2016, same year that we became examiners in the Intermountain division. And then, and then she was like, pretty much immediately like, all right, plan is now for you guys to go in what became 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And then go to tryouts. But yeah, it was, I think the one thing that I honestly do regret, and it's going to sound stupid, is that we didn't meet failure along the way. And, it's obviously I have empathy and a tremendous understanding of how tough that is. But I think we, through the environment we were in and just the background, were able to progress through that pretty quickly and pretty directly. But yeah.
But it didn't come out of nowhere, right? Like, I mean, you guys, I suspect you coached younger racers when you were coming up through your race program, and you understood how to look at skiing. You understood how to be coached, and these are transferable. I mean, your humility is palpable, but but you had a solid background before you came into the ski teaching world.
I think, and I don't know that you guys know this, but are you going to talk about us coaching each other? Bart?
No.
You froze.
Yeah. So as 16-year-olds, our home mountain didn't have we didn't have a coach. So we'd train with the masters team and coach each other. And then, I mean, even through college, my college team didn't have a coach. And I coached the team, we coached each other. Mm-hmm. And from pretty like high school on, it was trying to figure out what we could do to be better ski racers on our own. There's a lot of like self-diagnosing happening and watching each other race and, hey, how was that run? Would you see? And so, Angelo, you're probably right about we were doing MA on ourselves pretty early on. Mm-hmm. And developing some understanding, maybe without even realizing it. Yeah.
But there's a real DIY element to your story. But you obviously coming up together, but like grandfather's farm, being outside, getting the boat ready to be in the water, and building tools for the boots. There's just, I mean, it's all, it just all reads as part of the same thing. Like, just figure it out and get it done. It's pretty admirable.
Yeah. And be logical about it. Mm-hmm. It's like, figure out what the rules are and then use logic to figure out what the answer is. Mm-hmm. Really. Yeah.
So there's a ton of training going on. You guys, it was only a little while ago. It was end of January. So less than a month ago for team training, your second training, because you did your fall and winter training. So I know there's a lot going on. You can't tell us all the ins and outs, but what are some of your thoughts on preparing and getting ready for Interski as it's in Vail, 2027, end of next season? So, how are you preparing yourself? Each of you, how are you getting ready? Is it a little extra physical thing, kind of preparing for it? Obviously teams doing things, but what's some of your preparation, mental and then also technical type stuff? Bart?
It's interesting as a national team, folks that are listening may think that the coaching and kind of the way that information flows is like coach tells team what to do. But I know the two teams that both of us have been on, it's far more of kind of a group effort, and getting the group to a place where everyone's kind of shooting for the same target has been an interesting journey. And this past our fall training in Colorado and then down in Vail this round, I feel like as a group we've we've hit a stride where the target is becoming clearer. And as far as like what the skiing should look like, what the skis should be doing on the snow, there's interesting conversations around that where we're honing in on what we're actually trying to do, which I find very satisfying. And it's not a coach saying, hey, this is what we're after. It's the team kind of understanding differences, understanding the ski performance that we want to show, and working on that as a team.
Cool. Anything in addition to that, George? Or
I think, just speaking to Interski and the fact that it is at Vail, we've had some great conversations about, what is our technical message going to look like, and potentially how does it being at Vail affect that? And I think we're looking forward to having the world come and ski a big American mountain, in contrast to Levy, which had a phenomenal surface, but is a relatively small mountain with pretty much only groomers. We had some fresh snow while we were there, but it's not skiing the back bowls of Vail and skiing it in April, where it could be slush bumps or ice bumps or powder. Who knows? And so I think there's an influence of the fact that we would like the world to go experience that terrain and to really feel and experience why we believe the things that we do about skiing, and maybe what has shaped our technical belief system for a long time, why we try to keep it flexible, why we try to, have versatility and adaptability really built into our skiing. Whereas maybe another country may have some more rigid details around what a turn is, or a short turn is, or a long turn is. And so I think that's going to be a fun part of it that I know the team is excited about. I know, trying to figure out how do you create modules and education, like the time to go explore and experience the vastness of the terrain and learn at the same time. So I think it'll be different than the Levy, experience, but equally as cool, and pretty excited. Hopefully we have some snow and we can go exploring and really experience that.
Mm-hmm. How's the run up to the Vail Interski compare to this point in time when we were approaching the Levy Interski?
The biggest difference is we were a year behind for Levy. We had 1 year on the team, and then we went to Interski. Mm-hmm. So I would say this round is much more relaxed. I think there's more organic and creative ideas coming out of the group for this one, and an effort to both present what we want. But we were all so busy in Levy, just all the time, like always, we had something to do. And so I think there's a push to try to do a really high quality amount of stuff and have time to go experience the other stuff and really try to take in as much international info as we can, for ourselves and the membership and, the progress that we can make as an organization. I think that's a super important part of Interski,
Mm-hmm. Bart, what did you bring back from Levy that you use now?
The international interaction that you get at an Interski, I think, was by far the most valuable thing. And when you look at all these super, super talented professionals and they're all so good at what they do, but they all think about it in a different way. And so I think getting multiple different perspectives from different countries and the mixing and validation of, okay, you think about it this way, that kind of lines up with how we think about it, and it gets a certain result. but maybe your result's a little bit different. You guys value this more, and I can see that in your system. I think that the depth of knowledge, like the technical understanding, the way you can like approach a lesson from a different angle is the most valuable part of it. And it's something that, I think understanding one country's system is great. Understanding other countries' system and taking the things that you like from theirs is super, super powerful. We have a great system in the US, but based on the size and the breadth that we have to cover, there are disadvantages to that. And you look at a country, an Eastern European country that is so hyper focused on racing. There's an efficiency to their process that I think is super elegant. You look at the Swiss or the Austrians where they have a very clear version of what they do well. I think we can take a ton from that. The Aussies have like just a very unique type of lesson, short lessons. People just want to get the ball rolling and then go play on their own. So they have a very clear, concise descriptions of outcomes that's kind of born from their specific needs in the industry. And so I feel like from each one of those data points, there's some really rich stuff there that I know has made its way into my understanding and my output as a team member, instructor, trainer. Yeah.
So when it comes to, George, you said earlier, about relationships and, one of the relationships you guys have a little bigger relationship than Angelo and I was with Blizzard Technica. I got the skis sitting behind me in a boot over here, but it is pretty cool. I mean, I don't think people realize, how impactful or how much the companies support what you're able to do on the hill. And I just, and how you're able to get on equipment to be able to know what it's like and how it feels and how important that is to have that kind of deal.
Yeah. I mean, I think, we are both very lucky that we were able to partner with a company that we already skied on and had been skiing on for, almost 10 years. I think, finding a ski that does what you want it to do is the most important thing. And Blizzard's ski line, how they're, how they feel, the core, the shape, the way that they ski has always really agreed with Bart and I. And, I would say that we're very lucky that we were able to partner with them when we could, and that we could continue to ski on skis that we very willingly paid for a long time. If I ever, quite frankly, if I ever wasn't supported by them, I probably would be buying Blizzards again, because I just like the way that they ski. The boot is, I think, probably it's more important, but maybe there's less variety. I think I could probably make most plug boots work for me. Given that I know what I want it to feel like and I know what to do to boots to make them feel that way. But, having the ability to have a couple different flexes of boots and having that be okay, to ask for 2 plug boots, and we can mess around with putting a 130 upper on a 150 lower if we want to, and just go ahead and ski a 150 and do it, or have a 130 for a day that's going to beat you up. We've been really, really fortunate that they have always answered the call. If you're, hey, I want to really try the Anomaly 102. They've been amazing as a support structure for us. So yeah, I can't thank them enough. And like I said, we're skiing on the skis we want to, which is extremely fortunate. Yeah.
Bart, it's got to help. It's maybe you got to ask for that MT, and then we can get that 187, 190.
There, yeah, I know it. Take it.
we're trying for that big competition. We want to see it. I want to see it go up. See if somebody can hit 200. But yeah, I mean, it has to help both of you. And I don't know if Bart has something to say about it, but just being able to get on equipment, like you said, get an upper and a lower, get two different pieces of the boot to put a different combination together, must really open your eyes to how boots work and how you can help others understand how boots work and how they transmit the energy. It's more than just getting skis sent to you in boots. It's really helping the knowledge base of how things work and how they build them.
Yeah, as a person in the industry has the privilege to have enough equipment to like mess around with stuff, have an anomaly 84 with a 1 degree base bevel and a 2 on the side, and then another of the exact same ski with a 0.7 and a 3, and to be able to go ski those around and compare them, have enough like a boot, 2 boots that you can try, one with a spoiler, one without. Like the advantage of being able to tinker with the equipment to that extent is a product of having the access to the stuff. And, you don't want to just go tune the heck out of the ski you just spent $1,000 on to go experiment with a couple tunes. It's hard. So it's a huge opportunity. And hopefully we can be all of us here can be a resource for, whoever has questions about whether it's tunes or different shapes of skis or different radiuses of skis or different stiffnesses of skis or different stiffnesses of boots or, I'm happy to do the tinkering, and I'm always happy to answer questions about what I've found out with the tinkering.
Yeah. And when it comes to tinkering, let's chat a little bit about your views on skiing. I mean, you were talking, kind of the Flynn brothers views there, Bart. And, what excites you when you're watching somebody come down the hill? Like, and what is it you search for in the ski? And what are some of the Flynn brothers' thoughts on skiing in the turn?
I mentioned that drive up from Vail that was pretty recent. And one of the things that we were bouncing back and forth and chewing around a bunch was energy transfer from turn to turn. And I watch a skier come down and there's no interruption of momentum and there's energy in the skiing, and that energy flows out of one turn and into the next really efficiently. That's something that George and I value quite a bit. And, I watch a lot of the teaching happens at Jackson on trails that you can see from the chairlift. And I watch a lot of instructors skiing and demonstrating skiing that doesn't have energy transfer. It slows down at the end of the turn. And part of the question that George and I ask people is like, what are we actually trying to show? What are we actually trying to shoot for here? When you watch 15 skiers come down a run and you pick out the one that you like the best, what are they doing differently that you like so much? What part of that would you like to incorporate into your own skiing? And, I think it's not a surprise to anyone that both George and I love high energy skiing, whether it's on piste or off piste. And high energy skiing also includes high effort. Like I feel like I have to myth bust sometimes that people are, it looks so easy when you do it. I'm like, I'm trying as hard as I can. That's like 100%. I'm full throttle. That's all I've got. And I value a type of skiing that is hard. It takes high effort. You end a run out of breath. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There's certainly a place for pure efficiency of movement, but there's also a type of efficiency that gets the most energy for the least amount of input. And that I feel like is what we are often shooting for. And selfishly, it's what I enjoy. Those sensations is what I enjoy so much. The acceleration.
So George, sorry, go ahead, Angelo. Go.
In addition to each other, now that you have, you pretty much have unlimited access to the top pros who do you guys turn to with technical questions beyond each other?
You found one. Nice nut.
Dave wrote it.
You know, there's a Canadian gentleman that we connected with in Levy, JS Forget. We've had some excellent conversations with him, and again, we're both trying to do the same thing. We just have different ways of describing it, and so it's been he's been an awesome resource. We've had the chance to talk with him a ton on a weekly technical call that we did for almost 9 months, kind of the precursors to a new technical manual. And yeah, like JS has been a great one. There's a couple Swiss guys that I think we haven't really reached out in a while, but that I would bounce some questions off of. You know, like, your turns changed. What did you change? I can see that it's changed. Like, what is your swing thought? What did you tweak to get that outcome? But yeah, I mean, there aren't a ton of people that are out there that I'm asking, and I quite frankly, I think that's because we have each other to talk about skiing with. I think there's a huge part of that. But yeah, there are a couple guys that I mean, obviously I respect a huge number of them, but that we've both had the ability to chat with and get some different perspectives on. And yeah, it's been cool.
There's we like, this is apart from the team too. Like, obviously ideas are bounced around a lot from, like, we talk to Michael a lot about technical stuff, send videos back and forth, share ideas there. There's a couple guys like in the crew at Jackson, just our local crew, that maybe don't have the name out there, but you know, and Shorling's husband, Josh Howe, I chat, like, his locker's right, like, we sit right next to each other, and he's got a 180 on carve, you know, black sheep. First time he put the sensors on. It's only done it once. One run with sensors, 180. So, like, you know, Max Brennan is just down the locker row from us. Like, we've got a crew of people who can do can ski so well. And I think anytime we have someone who can do it, it's always interesting to see what their thoughts are about it. You know, and then a couple of our mentors, the folks that were bringing us up through, like, you know, 10 years ago, I love bouncing ideas off from, like, skiing mount points and boot stance and that kind of thing. Like Nato, Emerson, AJ Sanders, like some of our, like Jansen, you know, like the crew at Jackson, the older crew that kind of brought us up. We still bounce ideas off them all the time. The local community here is pretty top notch. It might not be as deep as an Aspen or something, but the quality is super, super high.
So you want that high energy in skiing, and you're watching lessons that don't have it. You know, is there other things too? Like, what would you like us as a group, as an organization, to do to make it more fun, more exciting when people watch it, want to come do it, want to come share it, and come to teaching? You know, how do we make this gig, and how do we make a lesson more fun for our students coming in?
I've had a lot of fun this year allowing people to come up, and partly it's a benefit of having a longer format lesson. Like in Jackson, we teach longer lessons. And I think in the industry, if we can move towards a longer lesson, I think there's an opportunity to allow students to start picking and choosing what the things that they want to learn are, what things that they like in skiing. They watch someone come down, and maybe it's not the most energetic, or it's not the fastest or most technically accurate, but maybe it's just super smooth and elegant. And someone sees an appeal in that, and we can tailor our instruction to that. And because it's their idea to learn that, there's motivation there, and all of a sudden learning becomes really fun, and it pushes us like away from the canned progression, like this is what we're going to do. It puts them in the driver's seat in a way that if they're picking out traits that they find appealing and pleasing, it's going to be fun to work on them.
George is shaking his head. He agrees.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't, Bart and I don't ski with a huge variety of public at this point. Like we ski with a lot of professionals in a training environment, and then we have our kind of families that we ski with. And yeah, I mean, like the elegance point always comes up. The mother of the family that I ski with, it's elegant, smooth round turns on anything is our goal. And we've developed that over a long time. And it's just our joke. It's like everything that we teach and talk about is in reference to the target that we both agreed on, which is elegant, smooth round turns. And she can do it, and it's great. And we tweak it, and we continue to work on it. And it's when you agree on something, you can kind of like argue to the same point. We can be arguing from two different points, but we always know that we agree on the target. And so we can have these conversations and laugh at each other and argue with each other in a fun and kind of, playful way. But we know that we've already agreed on what the outcome is. And I think, you ask what we can do better is really spend time to figure out what the outcome is going to be when you have success. And that success may take some time. But if the outcome of what skiing looks like at the end is agreed upon, you will have buy-in because you came upon that goal together. So, yeah, I think we can do better there. Yeah,
approaching instruction in that manner with a clear objective and being okay spending some time developing a goal, like way more time than is typically spent, allows a student to really understand like what they're shooting for so that they don't confuse cues or tips that they get along the way from different instructors or friends with the outcome. I've experienced skiers who think the outcome of good skiing is to keep their hands forward or some kind of insignificant type kind of cue. Like, no, that's something that like maybe helps you get to this bigger target, but helping people understand what the bigger picture objective or target is lets them be way better students. They could go ski with all four of us. We would all maybe approach things from a slightly different way, maybe have a different approach or a different focus. But if someone understands the overall target of, in George's case, elegant, smooth round turns, they'll be able to take something from Angelo, Capron, like it just lets them absorb that valuable information and use have that context of that's the objective. This is what we're shooting for. So I think we can do that better. I think we can do that better.
Well, we've often used the example of a puzzle. When you're trying to build a puzzle, you put the box, which has the picture of the puzzle, right in front of your face, so that you know where the blue pieces go and you know where the red pieces go, and you can generally kind of start to get a feeling of what this thing's going to look like. I think in a lot of cases we're just starting with a bunch of puzzle pieces on the table, which are our fundamentals and our skills, and we don't have the box, or we don't spend time with someone describing what's on the box, what colors go where. And I was just, as Bart was talking, I was picturing, like a level 3 teach. If you spend some time with each individual and like really come to a shared understanding and agreement about what the goal, the outcome that you're going for, and you do an activity or two that helps them move toward that outcome and goal, that feels like a pass to me. And I think that's a direction that we could start to train people in, not only for the exam, but of how to run your day, how to run your day. It's like, what's the picture on the puzzle box look like? And can they describe it so that you agree?
Angelo's ready to go. You got him triggered, man. The educational man is in him. I can see his face. He's got his next 2 articles.
That's well put. That's well put. And it both of you guys. And it flies in the face of some cultural, social trends in this country. People want it fast, and it's a checklist. And I did that skidded turn. Great, check that off the box. What's next, coach? Because I got that. But that's not development. That's not holistic. Ownership of all the pieces. I really appreciate what you guys just said. If you had, and you've had vast experiences now at this point. I mean, you've been in Europe. You've moved from Vermont, from east to west. You've done all these things. If each of you had to point to the one event in your experience that caused you to develop the most, can you do that? Can you point to one thing where you went, oh, I really get? What do you got, Bart?
I thought I had an answer for that. And then
it's great. We've got another guest on here, and we'll go to George and then we'll come back to you.
The second you said that, I cataloged through again. And I think it was the first Masters Academy group I had.
Is that right? Talk about that. And you'll have to provide context because our Eastern listeners will know what that is, but no, I don't know that other.
Yeah, so it's the big Eastern PSIA early season national team coached event. So it's training session for level 3 instructors. Mm-hmm. And in this case, I was a noob on the team and was paired up with kind of a random eclectic group of guys that got their level 3 before I was born. Seriously. And
Capron was Capron in your group? Because that geezer got his in the.
They didn't get level 3s; they got full certs.
I was close. I was 1 year off. 1 year from the full cert.
But I remember figuring out how to develop buy-in with a group like that, and develop kind of a common language and a common understanding of what we were shooting for. These guys have been literally doing the job for my entire life. I have objectively far less experience than they do, and figuring out how to not just roll in and be like, look, I can ski faster than you guys, and develop trust and develop kind of a want for learning from the group. I remember fighting through that and being like, God, I literally haven't taught them anything. And it's been a day and a half. But we're a lot closer to understanding each other's thoughts on skiing. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, that was pretty impactful. I think I was going to say it's an Interski thing, but that I remember that and being so intimidated. I got nothing on these guys. But then
that's real. That's real, man. That's so real, right?
Yeah. But then you go have a conversation with them, and there is some understanding in here, and they figured out that I had something to give them, and I think we had a good week. I still have the card that they made me.
That's awesome.
They had a gravitron drawn on it, like because we were talking about like that ride, like G forces and how you like stuck to the outside. Like it was cool.
Yeah. What about
Hopefully
you,
they gave
George?
George enough time to match it up.
Yeah, no. I'm just going to say something. Just going to tag on to what Bart said, and then I think I have another one. So, to the people that are young and upcoming, you will be put into that scenario. I promise, because we have a lot of experienced instructors that go to events that want to be trained, and I think being upfront and acknowledging the reality of that, be like, this is nervous. I'm nervous because of this. Like, you guys have been doing this way longer. And like, I'm acknowledging that. I'm not going to come in and try to like, big man you guys. No way. Like, you have to acknowledge that and tell them that you understand that. Like make sure that they know, and then make sure that they know that your expectation is for everyone to figure out how to learn something. And make it known that you are going to try to learn stuff from them. And so I think coming into it with the acknowledgement of the reality is really important. So for all you young and up and comers, that's super important.
Got a barking dog. Hold on.
Yep. Angelo, I think you got 3 articles. That's like the 3rd article, man. You got something on goals. You got something on trust. You got something now on, nerves and how to handle them. And you're going to be in those nervous spots. You got a bunch there.
Team members can write articles too. Like these guys are welcome to write these articles. They're their ideas. You guys want to write some articles?
Sure.
Perfect.
The Anne Shorling found it's called a Johari window.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where that kind of comes from. It's like, take something from the box that you know about yourself. You're nervous because of this, and move it to the box that you know and they know, so that your interaction can be deeper. Mm-hmm. That's where that comes from. But yeah, it's awesome. So anyway, I think the most impactful time was the training that we did in 2016, which was Bart and I were training for the dev team, or then it was just like you got selected and you're a poof and examiner. Mm-hmm. And Anne Shorling was training to make the national team. And we had this training group on Mondays that it was, no one got paid. No one was in a uniform. And we just went out and trained each other. And I think, to the point of, you need to learn how to take information and learn something from everybody in this kind of clan culture kind of setup, that because there wasn't anyone in a red coat directing things, there was expectation that information would flow in every direction. There wasn't an assumption that you just show up. It's like, well, you're in uniform. What are we doing today? There was nothing like that. And I think that has stuck with me. And I try to impart that on groups that I ski with, that like, I wish I wasn't in uniform, because we probably could be more effective. The uncomfortable nature of people sharing what they're thinking, or saying they don't understand something, or challenging a belief, is so much easier when you're in a clan culture as opposed to a hierarchical culture or whatever. And I think that doing that training, we got so much out of it. Like, we were inventing drills to get a specific outcome, to train a specific skill that none of us had ever done. And we were like, should we try that? Would that work? Yeah, no, I think that would work. That would train this. Yeah, let's go do that for like 3 runs. And we'd give feedback on it. And it was just such an organic, creative, environment where I think we created an outcome that was greater than the sum of our parts, and we're super successful. And that's, I think that's the one for me.
It was the difference between getting trained and doing training.
Yeah. We're going to go training.
I think a lot
get trained. Yeah.
I think a lot of instructors in this country go get trained. Show up to training to get trained.
Mm-hmm.
And don't just, you can go train. Just go have conversations, go work on stuff, go ask for feedback outside of a training environment.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why it's so important to have the picture on the puzzle box.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys kind of started that young. You know, you coaching each other in the race world.
Totally.
You know, Bart, you were saying you didn't have a coach even in your college team, and the crew coached each other. So it's kind of been an environment you guys have been in for a long time, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and at least in racing, there's faster is better.
Yeah,
a clear better. And that's the thing that's the biggest challenge for us, I think, is us, meaning ski instructors, is that, and the outcome is not clearly defined.
Yeah.
You know, you guys, Angelo, you probably sat in on that PGA discussion at National Academy, and you know, they have a really clean way of approaching the sport of golf. But part of their ability to have such a clean approach is that the outcome is so concrete and so like clear. It's like, I want the ball to go where I want the ball to go, and club face and club speed. And I'm going to mess this up, but you know, you get the point. And I think that's where we have the potential for growth in that realm, a clarity of outcome. And it doesn't need to be like final forms or it has to be this way, but at least like having a context that we can, just much like the carving is the context for the racer, that shared understanding would be so valuable for us to have and or develop over, you know, something that should be developed. But man,
and it's got to help you guys with your movement assessment to have a clear outcome, to look at what the outcome is, what you're looking for, what people are doing. And that's what I wanted you to chat a little bit about is, you know, how you do movement assessment, where you start. Is it having that clear outcome? And is it something like, I know, Bart, you talked a lot about, you know, when we talked about the boots, the stance, you know, fore or aft. I think George said it. Yeah, people don't really look at that enough. But I mean, where do you start in MA and how do you guys do it? I don't know who wants to start.
We've been baking this idea it's kind of been blossoming this season. I know both of us start at the skis and looking at ski performance, and you have to have kind of a idea of what the ski performance should be in order to assess that. But if we have a sec to discuss this, like I've been playing with this, is like I said, not fully baked, but the Nordic team and the Nordic branch of our organization has this fantastic sports performance triangle. Are you guys familiar with that? The XC? And it just, we were having a conversation around an Interski topic and this came up and I was like, man, why don't we as Alpine instructors use something like this where the first level foundational kind of assessment would be, is the stance on top of the skis effective? Are they standing on the equipment in a way that they can resist force and glide and stay with the equipment? And if that's a check, if you're like, yeah, okay, they're standing on it. Are their movements effective? So are they edging the ski in an effective way? Are they steering the ski in an effective way? Are their movements, you know, complementing each other and working well together and doing their job well? And if that's a checkbox, then is it a coordination of movements, the timing, how they're moving together? This is happening first, order of operations, basically dirt at that point. And then if that's all good and you're like, it's still not quite it, add some energy, add some speed, add some pitch. And so that hierarchy of kind of foundational stance, movements, coordination, and then the Nordic skiers call it power. But in Alpine, I think we can picture what that would mean. It's speed, energy, trying it on something steeper, or versatility of trying it on different terrain. And so I I've had a lot of success this season approaching skiing from that perspective and asking those questions of, is this stance related? Is it movement related? As far as skills of tipping or turning the ski. If it's not that, is it things aren't just happening at the right pace or at the right timing? Or do we just need to add some spice to it? So I've been experimenting with how effective that tool has been, and I'm still liking it for now.
I agree. I have also been experimenting with it. Again, I would caution listeners that this is unbaked dough. It is moldable dough at this point, but along with it, should we talk about the fundamentals and how it fits in? Sure. Okay. So
asking permission there. Is this okay, Bart?
No, throw it in there.
Whatever. So one thing that I've noticed is that the fundamentals that we have, I don't believe describe the same types of things. Yet they are all grouped into a group of things called fundamentals. So there's a suggestion that it is describing the same types of things, but I don't believe that they are describing the same types of things. And so to use Bart's sports performance triangle, the stance related pieces would encapsulate our foot to foot fundamental and our fore aft fundamental, our ability to receive force through the foot that we want and to regulate our relationship to that tool and pretty much stay in the center of it. That's the stance. If you can do those things, those two fundamentals, those don't necessarily describe how to do something to a ski. It describes how we stand on the ski. And so, if we kind of move up the triangle, we have these kind of more functional skills of how do we make the ski do something. And I see the inclination, angulation, the tipping, edging fundamental, and the rotational fundamental fit into that level of the cake. How do we actually make the ski change direction? It needs some edge to grip, and it needs some steering to turn. The next layer is how we mix those two to achieve an outcome. Do we want a very skidded outcome that creates a lot of resistance in the snow, or do we want a more carved outcome that has less resistance in the snow and allows us to ski at a faster pace? And then the fifth fundamental kind of lives in the top. It's like, as you do all of those things, it creates a magnitude of pressure that must be managed. And that's turning forces, that's terrain forces. And as you manipulate those fundamentals that allow you to stand on the gear and allow you to make the gear turn, that is going to create forces that you need to regulate. And so it can kind of, it may eliminate a scenario where someone is trying to make the ski do something by moving forward on it. Doesn't describe that. Describes how you stand on it. It may remove, an ability or someone pushing on one ski to make it turn more. It's like, nope, that only describes how you stand on it and which foot you're receiving pressure through. And so I think it has the potential to clarify what each fundamental is actually describing and clarify how we use the fundamentals to create good skiing. And in the end, when you do MA, you're looking at it through that lens. Is it a stance thing that is impeding their ability to move forward from there and worry about tipping and turning? Is it a tipping and turning thing that is, they're rotating the ski before they're tipping it, and that's not achieving the outcome that they're wanting, or whatever it is? It just gives some structure to how we use the fundamentals and the framework that we have. So again, not fully baked, but I have found through my beta testing at a couple just resort trainings that both of us have done that people are like, wow, that's actually a really clear way to think about those things. And I don't know that I've, there are plenty of people that try to push on the ski to make it turn more. And if they just had that framework, they'd be like, oh, well, obviously that's not for that. So why would I do that? So anyways, there you go.
Yeah.
The sermon.
Well, no, that's what we were asked for, right, Angelo? We want the sermon. But, and how do you feel that we need to modify it a little bit or simplify it even more than that for like folks getting ready for level 1, level 2, when we think about how they're doing MA, or should it just be very similar?
If you took someone who's never taught skiing before and you're like, this is how you build a skier. Your student has to be able to stand on their equipment effectively first. Once they can stand on the equipment effectively, you can start developing these skills that turn the ski. Starts like introducing the ability to change direction. And, there's drills and things like that can independently develop those movements, edging drills and rotational drills that open up those movements. And from there, you're like, hey, we try to tip the ski before it changes direction from a timing and coordination perspective. And don't add speed too early before you have all those other things. I have to think that if you took someone who's never taught skiing, someone who can ski, has never taught skiing, you're like, this is the way I'd like you to think about this. It seems pretty clear. It seems clearer than here are these fundamentals. Here's a screwdriver, a drill, a saw, a hammer, and a tool. Like, have fun building the house.
Versus, Angelo's thinking. I know he's thinking with his biology background, how we move, human movement. He's thinking.
I mean, honestly, what I'm thinking is I love it. I think it makes a ton of sense. I think it's very practical. And my wheels are sitting here turning like if you're building a skier and we don't have this opportunity under the current paradigm, which is, flat terrain for obvious reasons. They're new skiers, but typically we have them move forward. And it sounds like there could be some real benefit in addition to learning how to move forward, if they could incorporate some slipping sideways in that early stage, because then you get the other aspect of the stance that you talked about, included on that lowest tier, and what that would do to the development of a skier, the rate of development, the understanding of the sport. Have you thought about that? Has it been part of your conversation? Or?
Yeah, for sure. This actually, it goes back. Well, I think to your point, yes, 100%. And I think if even in a wedge turn, as we start describing that, if you're already planting seeds of outside ski, our goal in the wedge turn is not to make a breaking wedge, but to learn how to position the body to align to your outside turning ski. That takes you into a wedge Christie really naturally. If you're very good at balancing over your outside ski, that inside ski just comes in. And I think it creates really common themes through the development of teaching someone with a wedge that is really relatable. You're like, remember when we were talking about aligning to our outside ski in our wedge turn? Well, it hasn't changed. That's still one of the two of these like foundational lower level, fundamentals that we're going to continue to do all the way till when you're an elite skier. So yeah, no, I think we've talked about that a ton. And Bart and I, part of this came from, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard the tandem skiing story. Do we have time for the tandem skiing story?
We do now.
Great. So we have a pair of 220 K2 downhill skis mounted with 2 sets of bindings. And our birthday tradition is to go and ski them and go do some great turns on the tandem skis. And when we were learning how to ski them, we went through a beginner progression, having never skied these things. They were like, I don't even know if this is going to work. Like, we just mounted 2 sets of bindings on these and we're going to go try to ski around with it. And so we learned how to, we clicked in, we could like, all right, we know how to stand with flat skis, went up the gondola, beginner terrain, did a gliding wedge. We're like, okay, we can edge. Great. Awesome. Now, what happens when we both align to an outside ski? Boom, dude, we're doing wedge turns. We're like, all right, we got that. Let's be so good at aligning to our outside ski and disciplined and coordinated with that we can now do a wedge Christie. Okay, now we're doing linked wedge Christies on green terrain. Boom. And then all of a sudden we add a little bit of speed and momentum and energy transfer from turn to turn. And we can do a parallel turn. And so then we went up and skied some like steep blue runs, and it works. It totally works. And so that was like a huge learning experience for us of how effective teaching someone through a wedge and wedge Christie to parallel, if it's done right, can be, because the ideas and the coordination that we were building carried through, which is really cool. It also created some interesting ideas around the rotational fundamental, because
you got 4 legs on the thing.
Yeah. And you can't do a pivot slip. You can't do bow ties. You can't make bow ties in the snow but yet we can make a really, really high quality open parallel turn
on a 220 downhill ski.
With zero shape. There's a 50-meter radius. It has no shape at all.
Steering happening, and there's no independent leg rotation possible. It's very interesting.
Now, have you tried both positions, or like one's in front, one's in back all the time?
We haven't switched. We have position, and those positions have different responsibilities for sure.
Yeah.
The front skier is a very, very directional, kind of like aiming the ski where it wants to go. And the rear skier is a very lateral movement. So moving over to compensate and to match the aiming, if you will. But
video.
There's got to be video of this.
Yeah.
We'll send you a link.
God.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's gotta. But this could be like, we could threaten this could be the new level 3 exam task.
We have, again, I challenge people that have a little extra time on their hands and someone they trust, to turn your din down and go make that ski, build one. Just go to Goodwill and buy the longest ski you can find and put 2 bindings on them. Doesn't even have to be in whatever. And go through the same experience. It's rad. Mm-hmm. It's super rad, and it's fun. It keeps the fun in it, and it just gives an amazing perspective, not only to be a beginner again and to feel sensations that you're not used to and put yourself in those shoes, but again, to give some context to what people are feeling, and why we teach the way that we teach, and what are the strings and themes that you're going to carry through as you progress as a student.
Yeah. So. Yeah, you got to trust the person on the skis with you.
Yeah, I'd like the din. It's 6. Like, you can just twist your foot out of it.
Yeah, jeez. Oh man,
are you guys going to ask how you ride the lift?
I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, well, you said you went up the gondola, didn't you?
Yeah, not when we went real skiing though. No, you each take one ski.
Each take one.
Yeah. But the ski it's got 4 brakes on it. They're super safe. Redundant braking system. It's the only ski I know with a redundant braking system.
Right.
That is cool.
But the that just comforts all the attorneys listening.
Yeah.
They're like, 4 brakes. No worries.
Redundant. Great.
Just like a car, front and rear brakes. You gotta love it. So hey, the last thing I wanted to chat with you guys, I hear there's a really cool mentor type program you have at Jackson Hole that, and I don't know exactly how it works, but I know, George, you have a mentee that I do know. Alexa Barnes. And I don't know who Bart has, but I don't know if you guys want to just chat about that. I've heard about it, and I know Lexi's enjoying it because she was in it last year too.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's way less formal than it maybe appears. Jackson Hole does not have, and there are a lot of resorts that do, but Jackson Hole does not have currently a mentor program that's anything official. But I do think what we do have, and kind of how Lexi and like just the things get connected, are just through the community in the school and the culture that's in the school. And I think that culture was instilled in us from the people that were there when we got there. And so you're sitting in the locker room next to someone that's been teaching there for 40 years, and you're listening to their stories and you're chatting with them. And they're bought into your success, that they want you to succeed. And so, although I think we could benefit from something that's more official. But what I've told those folks that, would benefit from having a mentor is be super curious, ask questions, and meet the people that you want help from. And we have a culture at Jackson that people are going to say yes, because they're bought into your success. They want you to succeed. And so, I think that's kind of how it happened with her. I knew who she was. You guys, coming when we're back east, I was like, oh yeah, I probably should connect with this person. And then, we've been messing around with her boots, a little bit. And I think it's just being open to helping someone. And I think a lot of people in our school specifically, when someone asks, they're there. And so, yeah, I mean, ask for it, be curious, and find the people that you value their opinion, and don't be afraid to chat and ask for things, because even though it may feel like a charity for us, like, we care, and that's why we're doing it, But yeah, I think that's kind of where we're at. We should do something more legit, but it's working. So that's good.
Who do you have, Bart?
I'm curious because I'm not aware of an actual program either.
Oh, but do you have a mentee?
No.
Geez.
Probably,
George, you got to get him going. What's up?
No, I think I have a bunch. Okay. And I think like more of a cultural thing, that these little mentorship relationships pop up, and there's like, we both benefited a ton from a lot of people giving a lot to us. And at some point we got to a point where we're the ones giving a lot. And I think as long as everyone is on the same page there and willing to do it and wanting the information and wanting the relationships, that's how you build a really strong, high performance culture in a ski school. I mean, both of us are in positions where we get asked questions a lot. Hey, let me pick your brain about this and that. And, that was us 10 years ago asking our mentors, hey, like, someone's told me this. Does that make any sense? Or like, I need to figure this out. So yeah, I would be a huge fan of figuring out how to have a more structured, official version of something like that. Cause I think that's how we retain the skilled people, the people that we want to keep going through this thing. And the younger generation of ski instructors, I think, need that. They need the mentorship, need the support, need the encouragement, need the pat on the back that says you got this, you can do this. These exams in this industry it takes a lot of guts to put yourself out there and go fail and bounce back and improve yourself and go try again and maybe fail again. And like, that takes a lot. It takes a lot out of people. And the mentorship part is the thing that really props all that up and keeps you going back and keeps you getting better at it. Gives you the resources you need.
I'm trying to think of things that like attributes as a mentee that we maybe did that helped get the most out of that. And I think, I think about, there's a couple people that we've spent some time skiing with this year, and they're present. They're at the mountain skiing around, even on day off. They're super curious, and they're not afraid to ask a question. And I think that's up to us as the mentors to never shoot down a stupid question, and to always be open to a question and be like, actually, yeah, we can deal with that. And then, but to not be afraid to ask questions. And then that's on us to support that and to not, belittle someone for asking a question that we find obvious. But I think of there's a couple folks, like I said, that we've been skiing around with. They're super curious and they're around. Mm-hmm. And so be around and go search out the people and ask them questions and trust that their ethics and how they work is going to be a good mentor for you. Because we all want to see that next generation come up, and we want to support them in any way that we can.
I'm reminded a lot about what Eric Lipton talked about on this show. Do you remember that, Dave, about how he developed, and what you guys are describing, I think just meshes so much with what Eric said. It was about being an independent learner, first of all. And Bart, I think it was you earlier on who said a lot of people show up to be trained, right? Like an empty vessel. What do you want to work on? I don't know. What was that turn like compared to the last set? I don't know. That isn't it. That's not what you're describing. It's independence, first of all, as a learner, and then presence, like you said, George, and then asking for the clarification. Like there's a real active element to being a good mentee. It's not an empty vessel. It's more, in my mind, it's more active than that, is what you're describing. It seems like that's how you guys came up, and it reminded me a lot of what Eric said when he was discussing his years at Tussey and then Penn State race team, and then going through the ranks in the East and dev team and the national team. He was never passive in it. And I'm hearing a lot of overlap between what he said, what you guys are saying.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I do have one last question though, Dave, before we shut it down. And I can't
just one. I can't imagine you just have one.
No, it's one. But I don't know how it's going to land. But so let's just throw it out there. Like you guys, in many ways, are a package deal. I think you've got each other. You've got the twin thing going on. People talk about you together. The Flynns, but I can't help but notice your backgrounds. So like those of you who can't see Bart, I'm looking like behind Bart. There's this row of neatly stacked things, and then George, you've got going on whatever it is
the other way.
you've got going on there. Is this indicative of? Yeah, I saw that, and it's neat. Like it's the towels folded on the thing. The only thing you've really got that's disarray, Bart, is that I think it's a jacket thrown on that couch there. But like George, your whole shit is just like exploding, and you've got the Jimi Hendrix thing. And I just wonder. Here's the question: is this indicative of personality differences that people may not see if they just take you guys at face value?
I think this is my wife's doing.
Yeah,
I wondered that too. Yeah, I thought that might have something to do with it too.
And this room is definitely the shit room of our house. I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think we both have our messy and free tendencies and our anal and organized tendencies that are, I think, pretty similar. The shop, we kind of both have our pet peeves, but they are both definitely trending in the direction of functional and tidy.
Tidiness.
when people can actually see it.
Yeah. I will say, since you brought it up, like, we definitely acknowledge the mileage that the twin thing has given us. It's there's a third identity that is the two of us together, and I think it's a memorable one. I think people latch onto it, and I think it's an easy one to, say, yeah, I know them. But to anyone listening, I challenge anyone here, get to know us individually, because there are differences, and I will say that we always really appreciate folks that key into and value the individual that we are.
Yeah.
Because, at the end of the day, we're two.
Well, and kudos to some of our team members too for putting that time in. Some of the team members that we're closest with and we've spent the most time with, I mean, I bet they tell us apart by our voice or inflection or even just what we say. And I mean, two different people for sure. And those folks that are like, ask them how to tell us apart, because we wake up as George and Bart, and I don't expel or expend mental energy trying to figure out, God damn it, which one am I? That's pretty straightforward for us. So ask someone else how to tell us apart.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Is that Bart or George in the mirror in there?
Oh, shit.
I imagine, though, you guys have you've messed with people over the years, especially when you were younger.
It even without trying, it messes with people. So we don't even really put effort into it. If we put effort into it, no one would even have a chance.
It'd be like taking candy from a baby. It's like that.
Oh man, the bikes have to be different colors.
Oh yeah, always.
Yeah, same color. Same under the hood, different color.
Different colors.
Yeah. Just like Mom did it. That's exactly. It's got to be fair, but it's got to be different color.
And I can't imagine the bike shops messy, man. And every bike shop I go into is, I know Jess is down there in Gettysburg. It's like everything's in the exact spot and it's all tidy.
Every bike shop you go back into is tidy. Because if you walk into one that looks like George's desk,
you're not going back in.
You're going to go back.
Fine.
I got it. You're lighting me a fire. I'm going to clean up in here. It's going to look tight the next time we're on.
Some people from Salt Lake were up in our shop the other day, and they were like, "This is a beautiful bike shop," and I was like, "Thank you." That's what we're shooting.
Yeah. So, what are you guys riding this year? You got new frames, new bike, same thing?
I've got a new Pinarello Dogma F on the way as of 3 days ago. I'm rather excited about. Super sweet road bike.
Yep.
Super zippy. It'd be like the race type LT of the bike world.
No, it's like the FIS GSRD of the bike world. Big dog.
Man. Cool.
Yeah, we got a
awesome
new road bike probably going to happen for me, and it's fun. It's fun to shuffle through and try them all.
Yep.
We try to really similar to the skis. It's like we try to ride every bike that we carry so that we kind of have the context.
Well, we got to thank you, man. It's always hard finding schedules and time, and we definitely appreciate your time, and I know our listeners will. They'll be psyched to hear your thoughts and some awesome stuff. I know Angelo's brains, he might not sleep tonight. The way his mind works, he's got all kinds of stuff in his head with little thing, huh?
I got to write all these articles now, apparently.
Get to that, will you?
Yeah. You write them up, Angelo, and then they can just put their name on it.
Right.
They're really the co-writers, even though they haven't written it yet.
I'll just throw it into George and Bart GPT and see what comes up.
There you go, man. It's the way to go. But hey, thanks
being
a lot,
so
fellas. And you're always welcome back. We'd love to have you back. And like with Jeb and Matt, we can have each one back. Matt was always upset because he couldn't come on unless he was chaperoned by Jeb. So he got mad, said he wouldn't come again unless he came alone. So we can always have one on than the other, so we get 2 podcasts out of it. But would love to do that and chat more about your ideas on skiing and MA and see how this half-baked. It sounds a little more than half-baked. It's at least 7/10 baked, I think, Angelo.
It's starting to rise.
Yeah,
Go play around with it. Huge thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But awesome. Hey, everybody, this has been The Fall Line with KS and Company.